afternoon. I'm Mrs. Polly.
And I'm Mrs. Meyer.
And we're going to talk to you a little bit about your future, I guess. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about, a lot of questions come about, what do colleges look for when you're getting accepted? And they actually look at the whole student, not just one piece. So some of the things that colleges have told us, that they do look at your grade point average, but don't get too caught up in that, oh my gosh, well I had a B or a C and so now I don't have a perfect 4.0. That is only one of the pieces that they look at. And with your grade point average, that's only comparing you to just the students that are in Highland High School. So they look at some other pieces as well. Not that that's not important, but don't get too carried away with that. Number two is rigor. How hard are your classes? So if you had a 4.0, but all you were taking was, I'm going to offend somebody by saying a class. But if you were taking the easiest basket weaving class that you could take, and you had a 4.0, that's not going to get you into a college either. They want to look to see that you're actually pushing yourself and challenging yourself, trying to take some advanced classes, or, if not all advanced classes, but picking pieces that you're really passionate about. College Credit Plus classes and AP classes look really good on your transcript as well. Another thing they look at is to see if you can handle your academics as well as being in other activities. Maybe you work after school, or you're involved in anime club, or you're in the choir, you're in the band, you play sports, you know, something like that. You're in your youth group. Things that show that you're doing stuff outside of school as well. Shows them that you can handle the responsibility of college as well as life that happens in the meantime. And the other piece that Mrs. Meyer is going to talk about here in just a minute, you guys took a pre-ACT, so it kind of gives you an idea of how well you're going to do on the ACT. Remember when we talk about GPA, that only compares you to Highland High School kids? Well, an ACT compares you to kids in the entire United States. So that is something that is on a scale of 1 to 36, and 36 is the highest. If you're somewhere around 20, that's kind of the average. And colleges, like I said, it's very difficult. We actually were looking up, okay, what's the average ACT score? It's very different for all colleges, and just because their average ACT score might be a 25 or a 26 does not mean that you won't get in if you have a 22. So that's something, all those other components, your grade point average here, working hard in your classes that you're taking, challenging yourself when you do your scheduling, and doing other activities, those things also weigh a lot on that as well. But just looking at your ACT and just looking at those scores, I'm going to let Mrs. Meyer talk to you about kind of reading through your pre-ACT scores.
And kind of the average that we're finding for colleges is right around that 20. Some are more, some are less. So when you're kind of looking at your results here, and you're saying, oh, I'm not quite there, when you go into each test on these results, it will have your math, your science, it will list every single question, how you answered, which ones that you got wrong, and then over here on the side, it will list your ideas for progress. And those are ways that you can improve your scores. So when you look at the math, it will say, hey, there are some issues in algebra that you may not have quite gotten, and it'll say what you need to focus on. So what that tells you when you're looking at scheduling classes, if say you're a little low in math, if you're a little low in science, those may be areas that you might want to challenge yourself in. The other thing that you can kind of use this pre-ACT for is to say, okay, I'm coming up on my junior year, put this aside and say, what kind of career do I want to do when I graduate from high school? This pre-ACT is really nice. It gives you some information for college. However, if your career is not something that needs a 4-year college, then let's look at what options you can do and what you can do here at high school to put yourself in the best position of being able to graduate as an adult and going to a job and a career that you're really going to enjoy. There are so many options. There are four-year colleges that are really going to look at this ACT. There are two-year colleges, associate's degrees, where they're going to look at your ACT. Sometimes there's not quite that high requirement, and you can walk out of college in 2 years doing something that you love, making really good money. The other option is the career centers. And the career centers have come a long way since your parents have been here, your grandparents have been here, your aunts, your uncles have been there. And there are just some really fantastic programs where you walk out there making more money than your teachers are making, people that have been in fields that require four-year degrees, you're making more than they make. So really kind of look at this. If you need to improve it, there's ways to do that. But start thinking about what career do I want and how are you going to get there.
We also have an ACT study session that we run with Mr. Michael Short, who has taken this test, I believe, 6 or 7 times now. There's a limit that you can take the ACT in your life, but he continues to do that and has received a 36, I think, 4 times at least. So he's amazing. We'll bring him in again next year, and some of you may have participated in that this year as well. And if you're interested in College Credit Plus classes, that's when you get high school credit and college credit at the same time. There is a state-mandated meeting that you have to attend at least once while you're in high school. So if you already attended last year, you do not have to attend again. If you haven't and you would like to take college credit classes next year, you have to be there. I sent an email out to your student emails as well as to your parents. So if you can check that, that has some information on another date for a College Credit Plus meeting if you miss the one that we host here. And if you are already in College Credit Plus, or if you attended last year and you're thinking, well, I actually didn't take classes, but I went to the meeting, every single year, you have to do some paperwork that shows what your intent is. So please make sure that you stop in and see us on January 30th if you don't have to attend the meeting. On January 29th, if you're at the meeting, we'll have all of the paperwork and the instructions there. We have worked really closely with Marion Technical College and created kind of a checklist to hopefully simplify that a little bit for you. And one of the first steps that in order to even apply for this privilege is to make sure that you attend one of these meetings. So that's on the 29th, which is a week from today, which is Monday when I'm taping this, but Wednesday when you're watching it. So, sorry, Monday, January 29th at 7 o'clock, and it's in the high school cafeteria. And I think that's all that we have to talk to you about today. We'll be talking to you very soon about scheduling, and maybe we'll be a little more entertaining that day. Thanks.